How are you feeling?
Well,
How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you?
That's difficult to answer.
Could you give me some idea?
I am not completely like other people.
What do you mean by that?
People dislike me because I am not completely like them. I am trying to do with my life something which few people try to do, and this influences my thinking and consequently my action.
What is it you're trying to do with your life?
Play the piano for people.
I'm not clear. How is it that playing the piano for people has eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital?
That's difficult to answer.
this the end? There's a noise inside my head of crying people facing death. Is this the end? Is this the end? I'm burning in the stone. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the stone. This is the final side. What have we done to the world? What have we done to the world? I'm burning in the stone. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the stone. This is the final
What up, guys? We got a special early edition breaking news stream today because wait, is that what I want it? Is that how I want it? I don't think that is how I want it. No, I don't. Hang on. I'm messing with a new layout. Hang on. We're getting our layout stuff together. There we go. Doesn't that look nicer? So, earlier today, I was notified via a post on Twitter from the incomparable Andy No, who keeps on top of these things far better than I do sometimes. And Andy No let us know that Lauren Southern, not to be confused with Lauren Chen, but Lauren Southern is going to be testifying in front of Canadian Parliament today. And so, I just thought we would watch that. I thought that would be a good way to spend some time. And we're going to watch that. And then we are still going to do our stream at 5 p.m. Now, the last time that we watched the testimony, and this is all in regards to the Tenet media scandal where Lauren Chen took like $10 million from Russia and was kind of sort of a Russian spy. And we watched last time when the Canadian Parliament dragged Lauren Chen in front of them. And listen, Lauren Chen basically did this Canadian version of like pleading the fifth, and she refused to answer any questions. But what was really interesting about watching Lauren Chen's testimony last time was to see how the Canadian representatives engaged in this situation, because there was some woke nonsense going on in Canada, and listen, man, I'm not going to say that I necessarily think Lauren Chen is 100% innocent in this situation, because I think Lauren Chen is smart enough to know exactly what she was doing. I'm not mad at her or anything. If people can take money from Israel, then why can't people take money from Russia? Is kind of my opinion on it. I don't begrudge her anything. I don't think that Tenet Media was part of some sort of massive disinformation campaign. If for no other reason, then I mean, they really didn't get the views that they paid for. They just really didn't. With the amount of star power that they had attached to that, they should have gotten way more views than I can get on a video, and they didn't get way more views than I can get on a video. So am I going to be mad that Lauren Chen saw an opportunity to create a media company and she took money from Russia to do it? No, I'm not going to be mad at that, because I actually do think that Lauren Chen does have like a certain amount of integrity, and I don't think that she had anyone telling her what to say or do. And, people take money from Israel all the time, and I'm not going to complain. I just don't care that much. But I do care about the proceedings around it because it's interesting. It's a scandal. It's something that's a little bit different from what we normally cover. And so I do want to see how Lauren Southern is going to handle this. I do want to see if she going to plead the fifth as well, or is she going to answer questions? What is she going to say? So the testimony is scheduled to be for a couple hours. I do have the very fancy Canadian Parliament television system pulled up, and it has not started yet. So we are kind of waiting for the Canadian Parliament to start. But I do want to remind people that we will be watching something else after this. Now, when Lauren Chen testified in front of Canadian Parliament, it didn't go the full 2 hours because she wasn't answering questions. So I don't know exactly how long this is going to go. It is scheduled for 2 hours. If it goes the full 2 hours, we're going to start my normal 5 p.m. stream at 5:30. If it does not go the full 2 hours, we will start my normal 5 p.m. stream at 5. And what are we watching at the 5 p.m. stream, the normal one? Well, I had a member of my community, shout out Honest Dog Allison, tell me about this person named Forward Observer. Has anyone ever watched this person? I have no idea who this person is. But my community member came to me on Monday and she was like, Carlin, can you watch this video for us and tell us if this guy knows anything? And I was like, yeah, I can do that. And what got my attention about this guy is that he is charging $200 for a so-called Antifa library where he claims to have 100 copies of far-left activist materials that he's charging $200 for. And he's got this like early warning network thing that like he says it's a $500 value, and he's doing like I'm just like, I'm looking at this guy, I'm like, this seems kind of like a scam. I understand what this guy, I get like this, he's got this whole team of investigators. I'm like, I don't know if I take this seriously at all in any way, but I could be wrong. I'm willing to be proven wrong. And what we're going to do is we're going to watch this guy's video and we're going to assess whether or not we think he understands the left at all. And we're going to do that at 5 because it's important that we know what other people are saying. We call James Lindsay on his bullshit all the time. If other people are out there putting nonsense on the internet about the far left, we are going to call that out as well. It is certainly capitalism. You know, I don't necessarily begrudge him for it, but if he's charging $200 for bullshit, I want to know about it. And for no other reason, like, why aren't I charging $200? If he can charge $200 for bullshit, why aren't I? Why aren't I? Speaking of what I'm charging, if you want to support the work I'm doing and keep me in business, you can head over to my Substack, which is Carlin, KARLYN.substack.com. This is where I post all my best content on the internet. It's where I'm posting clips. It's where I host the Actively Unwoke podcast, which you can find by heading up to the podcast link right at the top, and that will take you to the latest episodes. We're starting to do clips on the podcast, so you're getting audio versions of some of my best clips from the show. We've also got recently, just the other night, I launched a new podcast episode talking specifically about Trump appointing Linda McMahon as the Secretary of Education and whether or not I think that's a good thing or a bad thing. I think it's a good thing, and I will tell you why in that podcast. Also, you can find other ways to support my work over there by clicking on that here article, and I'll put the link in the chat in a moment. Ways you can support my work includes becoming a paid member, $8 a month, $80 a year. I am 100% funded by you guys. I cannot do this without you. I do appreciate everyone who funds my work. Thank you guys for doing so. You can also make a one-time gift through Stripe. You can buy merch in my merch store. You can help fund my next book. You can, of course, join me for my regular daily live streams, which I do Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on YouTube, Rumble, though not on Twitter at the moment, and we're going to talk about that more at 5. But we're here now. And so you can follow along for those streams and make sure you're following me on social media, join the Telegram channel, get notified when I go live, stuff like that. Those are all things you can do to help me do the work I do, and I really do appreciate it. Lastly, I just want to do a plug for my special cult Substack, which is a cult Substack specifically for the show, where I do post updates about what I'm going to be streaming about and what I'm going to be streaming. So if you would like to get email updates or updates in the Substack app on your phone about what I'm doing, head over to thecult.substack.com. This is specific for my streaming for people who want a little bit of advance notice. Maybe you get a message saying I'm going to be doing this topic and you're not interested in it. Well, you don't have to worry about it, but you get a message in advance saying I'm doing a topic you are interested in, like the Lauren Southern testimony. You can make sure you carve that out in your schedule. I am trying to get better at, scheduling these things ahead of time. I'm really working on it. So if you would like those updates, this is completely free. You don't have to pay money for it. It's just to make sure people have access to what I'm streaming and you guys can plan your schedule accordingly. Head over to thecult.substack.com. That is different than my main Substack. It's just a special mailing list just for the show. Let's see if they're live yet. Not started yet. So we're still waiting for that. While we're waiting, I just want to make sure people know I am currently locked out of my Twitter account for the second time in 2 days. My main Twitter account is Dr. Carlin B, because the Manhattan Institute whore, which is what we will be calling her from now on, the Manhattan Institute whore, Christina Buttons, who turned out to be a hardcore porn star masquerading as a conservative investigative reporter. Christina Buttons has decided to report everyone to Twitter who posts public images of, well, her work. I even censored the image. But if I can go onto the internet and search Christina Buttons' porn name, which is Rita Lovely, and find, well, publicly available video of her fucking someone who she says is her stepbrother on video, which obviously it isn't, it's porn, it's fantasy. But if I can find this publicly on the internet and I can post that on Twitter, because porn is posted on Twitter all the time, Christina, then it's not actually targeted harassment. It's not private material. That was the first thing she reported me before. She said, Carlin posted my private material. No, Christina. No. You sucked cock on the internet, Christina. You got fucked on the internet publicly. The videos are all still there. This is not private material. I can go online and find it. And so I'm continuing to question why the Manhattan Institute investigative reporter, who turned out to be a porn star for like 8 years, I'm continuing to question why I'm getting locked out of my Twitter account for posting publicly available information that anyone can go find just by searching the name Rita Lovely. That's Christina Buttons. But my Twitter ban will be over in about, 6 hours or something like that. So it's not that big of a deal, but I just can't post from my main account right now, which is why I'm posting on the Actively Unwoke account. Make sure you're following the Actively Unwoke account just in case that whore tries to ban me from my account again. And I'm not going to take her shit. You want to know why? Because she's literally a whore. I have no patience for porn stars that try to pull this shit. I'm sorry. I don't begrudge people doing whatever they want to do with their body, but when you are trying to censor people and get people banned off the internet for posting your publicly available hardcore pornography to say, that's a whore right there, that should not be masquerading as an investigative journalist. And by the way, Christina, don't ever pretend to care about journalism again when you are literally trying to get people banned on Twitter for exposing your past, which you hid from everyone. It is not our fault you chose to do hardcore porn for 8 years of your life, Christina. In fact, since we seem to have a minute, let's just remind ourselves. It is not our fault you chose to do hardcore porn for 8. You know what they said when it came out that Christina Buttons was a hardcore porn star? They said, guys, she had autism. It was when she was 19. She had autism. They took advantage of her. And I'm like, that bitch did hardcore pornography for 8 years. If you are so non-functional as an autistic person that you get tricked into doing hardcore pornography for 8 fucking years, you are not qualified to be an investigative journalist. Because if you can literally get tricked because you have autism into doing hardcore pornography for 8 fucking years, you are not competent and capable enough to be an investigative journalist. I'm sorry. I don't make the rules. I think this is pretty common sense. Can we all agree on that? If you can get tricked into doing porn for 8 years, you don't get to be an investigative journalist and call yourself a conservative after that. No. Nope. She fucked on video for a long time. Did all sorts of stuff. You can look it up by searching the name Rita Lovely. That's Christina Buttons. And I already would have moved on from this had she not tried to get my Twitter account banned. But here we are. Let's see if we're live yet. Not live yet. We did find that the Canadian Parliament was a little bit late last time with Lauren Southern, so we got to give them a little bit of a leeway. But guys, while we were waiting, please make sure you mount the like button for me. If you would be so kind, I would really appreciate it. Let me just get the audio set up. But there we go. See, now it looks even nicer. Guys, if you feel so inclined to send me a super chat, I do generally have a $100 super chat goal every day. That keeps me streaming. That will cover this stream and the stream we're doing at 5 p.m. So all super chats will be added to the goal. Wait, what? Mizakan, you are such a dirty, dirty boy. Mizakan is like so fucking horny. Like, and listen, I love Mizakan because Mizakan does great research. He uses his Twitter account to post all this leftist research and reading that he does, and then he comes out with like stuff like this, and he talks about my boobs all the time and stuff like that. And so, you know what? Yeah, he only looked at her porn for research, I'm sure. You know what? We are a work hard, play hard type of community, guys. That's what we do here. We work hard, we play hard. Are they started yet? Come on. Andy No said this was Pacific time, but Canadian Parliament is in Ottawa. And that's in Eastern time, so I'm pretty sure this is Eastern time. I'm pretty sure it could potentially be Pacific. Andy No said Pacific time for some reason, and I was like, I don't think that's true because the last time it was Eastern time, but they were late last time too, so we'll give them a couple more minutes. Hopefully this show gets started soon. If it does end up being later, I don't know, we'll stream it later or something, but I think this is, they're in Eastern time. Ottawa is in Eastern time zone, so I don't know many things about Canada, but I know that much because I asked ChatGPT earlier and it said it was in Eastern time zone. Yep, the Canadians are tardy. Yeah, you're in Canada, you know. See, this is why I was confused. Andy No said Pacific time. I'm like, I don't think that's right, Andy. It's Eastern time. That's okay. Everyone's allowed to make mistakes. Well, ChatGPT is wrong sometimes, but not often. ChatGPT, when I was on my road trip, I asked ChatGPT to recommend me a restaurant that specialized in green chilies in New Mexico, and it got it wrong, and I was very disappointed about that. The restaurant was very good, though, and I did have something with green chilies in it, but it didn't specialize in green chilies, and I was a little disappointed. That's okay. You've been watching Parliament, Tommy. We are waiting for the Canadian Parliament to get started. They are not started yet. Hopefully they'll be starting soon. So Matt Gaetz, right? Do you guys want to talk about Matt Gaetz real quick? So Matt Gaetz has withdrawn his name for consideration as Attorney General. And some people are saying, they're like, this is Trump playing 4D chess, and this is Trump wanting to sniff out all the turncoat Republicans, and that's why he nominated Matt Gaetz, and they always knew Matt Gaetz was going to withdraw to sniff out the turncoat Republicans. And I'm like, you morons, you knew who all the turncoat Republicans are already. This was a Trump cave. This is my opinion on what happened with Matt Gaetz. Trump caved. Trump should have pushed that through with all his might. Trump should have never backed down. He should have forced the confirmation hearings to happen. He should have used all the pressure he could to get Matt Gaetz as Attorney General. What did he do? He caved. He caved. And if Trump is going to cave over Matt Gaetz as Attorney General, Trump is also probably going to cave over mass deportations and every other thing that Trump wants to do. And I think this is a really bad sign, guys. I know everyone thought that, oh, Trump doesn't have to get elected again. He can do whatever he wants. No. He's already shown you that he's a pussy, and he's going to back down at just the slightest little bit of pushback. Trump could have muscled through Matt Gaetz if he wanted to, and even if he couldn't, they should have done it anyway. They should have done it anyway. Say, fuck you. That's who I want as my Attorney General. He's more than competent. He's more than capable. The reason that they do not like Matt Gaetz in Washington, D.C. is because he calls them all out on their bullshit, and he doesn't take PAC money. He would have been a great Attorney General. Trump should have stayed the course. Matt Gaetz should have stayed the course. But no, he pussied out at the first opportunity. Can he go back to Congress? I don't know. He already resigned from Congress. So now, I mean, if DeSantis could appoint him as senator, potentially, because he's going to have to replace Marco Rubio, so maybe Matt Gaetz will get appointed to the Senate. DeSantis could put him back in his congressional slot, I guess. But, like, what was the point of this in the first place? It's not as though they didn't know Matt Gaetz had a had that ethics investigation. It's not like they didn't know that he had trouble with a lot of people in Washington, D.C. It's not like they didn't know it was going to be an uphill battle. They already knew who all the Republican turncoats were. I don't believe for one red second that this was some game of 4D chess to sniff out all the traitors. They already knew who all the traitors were. If they didn't, they learned nothing in their first term. Nothing in the last 4 years either. So, no, I think this is a massive fuck up. I think Trump caved. I think it is indicative of what we're going to see his entire presidency, and people better hang on to their hats for how bad it's going to be. It's not started yet. Come on, Canadian Parliament. Is this seriously going to be Pacific time? Because it doesn't say Pacific time on the thing. I'm going to be mad if this ends up being Pacific time. Yeah, Trump is a massive cuck. Trump is a massive cuck. Didn't we go through this with Lauren Chen? Well, yeah, that's what I was saying, Naruto, is that when the Lauren Chen hearings happened, they were also late. So I'm not, like, super worried about it. But it's still annoying. It's still annoying. Everything should be on time. Just make sure I have the right link. Just to double check. Hang on, I'm just... Watch the meeting. No, it's still not started. I do have the right link, though. All right, well, we'll wait for this to start. We're on Canadian Parliament time here. Has anyone else got any stories that they want to talk about? Anything else going on? Yeah, I mean, this is the other thing. Like if Trump caves for Matt Gaetz, he's going to cave for everything. Nick Fuentes was talking about this on his show last night, and I didn't watch his show, but I saw clips. I don't always watch everything Nick says and does, but like I did see clips of it where Nick was talking about how Trump just wants to be liked more than anything, and he's right about that. And the minute that Trump starts to get public pressure on something is the minute that it just goes kaput. And Nick was talking about in terms of like mass deportations and what they want to do there. But if this Matt Gaetz is any if this Matt Gaetz thing is any indication, then the Trump presidency is already cooked and it hasn't even started yet, which is depressing, but like it is what it is, I guess. All right, we're still waiting for this hearing to start. I hope everyone's having a good day. South Pod, also in Canada, I've heard reports that Trump is on board and perfectly fine with ATACMs and Storm Shadows being those are missiles, right? Yeah. Yep. Trump did create the art of the cuck. His presidency literally hasn't even started yet. And he's already losing. And it's like, it's depressing too, because it's like, we said this was going to happen. Trump controls the executive, the House of Representatives, the Senate, and the Supreme Court. And the Republicans still can't get their shit together and actually do things that people want them to do. That is how ingrained the establishment bullshit is in Washington, D.C. Trump can literally control fucking everything. Still can't get what he wants. And caves the minute that things get tough. All right, guys, we're waiting for the Canadian Parliament to actually start their session. It hasn't started yet. We are on their time today. I'm going to wait a little bit longer. I'm not going to wait too much longer, though. Watch, if I decide to like drop out of this and stop waiting, then they're going to go live the minute that I stop the stream, and so we'll hang out a little bit. It seems as though they've changed the room of the meeting, so maybe they had to run from one room to another room or something like that. Not started. Canadians. We thought Mexican Standard Time was bad. Canadian Standard Time is worse. If you guys haven't seen it, Russia launched an ICBM with the nuclear warhead swapped out into Ukraine last night. Also, my government blows. Yeah. We are totally fucked. We are fucked 19 ways from Sunday. But you know what? We can all be black-pilled together. As the world goes to hell in a handbasket. As we get dragged closer to World War III. As the Canadian Parliament can't even start their hearing on time. We are all in this together. We are all suffering together. And that's okay. At least we have friends. I also have a giant cup of coffee. Look at this amazing mug my husband got me for our anniversary. It's got a giant rope for a handle. It's handcrafted in the UK. It's made of wood. It's got an insulated lining. It's got a coin on it. It's got a coin on both sides. I can swap out the coin, apparently. This is a massive cup. And I thought that this rope was going to be a problem, but this rope is sturdy. It's a good anniversary present. Let's see. Come on, get started. Lame. Does Andy know have any sort of update? Nope. And this doesn't say, like, it's not Eastern time, so we have to assume it's Eastern time. Yeah, it's a legit mug. It's a legit mug. Yeah, so in New Hampshire, we nullified all federal gun laws, so we don't actually have to follow the gun laws of the federal government. Because they won't be enforced here. Oh, come on. Start the meeting! We're gonna get a half hour into this before it starts. Everyone's trying to find the room. Guys, we are waiting on the Canadian Parliament to start their GD meeting. I believe it's microwave safe. I haven't tried it yet. You do have to hand wash it, though. You cannot wash it in the dishwasher. That's something. It's lighter than you would think it would be, too, honestly. Does anyone have a notion of what Lauren's testimony will be? A question over on Rumble? Nope. We have no notion of what Lauren's testimony is going to be. We have no notion of if she's going to answer questions or if she's going to do the plead the fifth thing like Lauren Chen did. We don't know. We don't know. This is standard. Well, how they nullified federal gun laws is they just won't enforce them. Because in order to, they would need the local sheriffs to cooperate with enforcing them. There's like a significant number of people in New Hampshire who don't pay taxes just on principle because there's a lot of crazy libertarians who live here. So in some ways, I suppose they have, but they could also get in trouble for that someday. I, of course, pay my taxes with diligence and all appropriateness. Just in case the IRS has any questions. Because obviously Trump's not going to fix the IRS either. Oh, come on. Oh, is there anything else going on? Is there any other gossip we should talk about? What's going on? I haven't really been paying attention because I've been banned off Twitter for basically 2 straight days. So what's been going on, guys? What's the gossip? Let's make conversation while we're waiting. Now we need to figure out how to nullify stupidity. Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? We need to figure out how to nullify Canada. We need to figure out how to nullify... Oh, we're never going to nullify yarn. Yarn's always welcome. I'm a little annoyed that my actively unwoke Twitter account is like getting so little views because I do pay them for premium on that account. So I don't know. Why did I get banned? I'll show you why I got banned. I'll show you why. I got banned because Christina Buttons is a whore. Christina Buttons pretends to be a conservative investigative journalist, but in fact, Christina Buttons is a whore and was a porn star for a long time. And when it came out that Christina Buttons was a porn star, I posted censored pictures of a couple of Christina Buttons films showing that it is in fact Christina Buttons sucking on cock on the internet. And Christina Buttons didn't like that, and so Christina Buttons reported me to Twitter saying that I released private material that wasn't private because I found it publicly on the internet by looking up Christina Buttons' porn name, which is Rita Lovely, which anyone can look up if you're. And I don't support porn. I don't watch porn. I don't like porn. I think porn is gross. But if you're so inclined to confirm every single thing that I'm saying, and of course I would never post uncensored porn on the internet because I don't think porn should be posted on the internet, but I did censor it out, but you can still get the basic mise-en-scène. If you are so inclined to do your own research, Christina Buttons' porn name is Rita Lovely. She was a whore for like 8 fucking years and now masquerades pretending to be a conservative journalist and then reports people for posting publicly available images of her public videos where she's getting fucked. That's why I'm currently banned on Twitter. Because Christina Buttons is an unethical, entitled cunt who has gotten fucked by God knows how many people on video and doesn't want anyone to know about it. Too bad, so sad, Christina. Too bad, so sad. Too bad. Let's see, is this live yet? God dang it. We're still waiting. We're still waiting. I'm going to give it about 8 more minutes before I call it. Has Lauren Southern posted anything on Twitter? Let's just look up. Is there anything going on? Did it get canceled or something? We don't know. We're not watching the fucking Penguin song. That's not happening. All right, well, there are a lot of people complaining about Lauren Southern on Twitter. A lot of people talking about how Lauren Southern fucked Destiny on Twitter, which, by the way, ew. Lauren Southern fucked Destiny? Why? Lauren Southern is so much prettier than that. She could get so many hotter guys. Destiny? Why? What is it with women being attracted to Destiny? It can't just be like from my understanding, Destiny has like a misshapen dick and is into all sorts of weird, crazy shit. And I've seen what Destiny looks like, and he's not attractive, like, in any way. He's not even attractive in, like, a nerdy way. And I appreciate nerdy attractiveness. I do. I married an attractive nerd. Like, I appreciate nerdy attractiveness, but, like, why is every woman on the internet fucking Destiny? I would never. That would never happen. Wow, Ethan Ralph is talking about Lauren Southern fucking Dust. Like, man. Well, you just called me Karen Trendelin, so of course why isn't this starting? What is going on in Canadian Parliament? We are here at the correct time. We are in the correct location. Here, want to listen to Ethan Ralph talking about Lauren's Southern fucking destiny while we're waiting? Hey, off topic, but Honest Dog Allison is hosting the first movie night in the Vintage Vault on Fridays. Yeah, they're doing movie nights and Fridays on the supporter Discord now. Go watch Chinatown in the supporter Discord on Friday. I will remind everyone on Friday if someone reminds me. Let's see what Ethan Ralph is talking about here.
No.
While we're waiting.
I have not done that.
Let's see. You are currently experiencing what it's like to receive free Canadian healthcare. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. True. All right, just to entertain us while we're waiting.
Oh, no. This is what area? I can't tell.
Oh, it's on!
European Day.
It just started. It just started. See? It's like magic. It's like fucking magic. It starts as soon as I start doing something else. See? We made it. Literally started as soon as I started playing the Ethan Ralph video. All right. We're here. Everyone mount the like button for me if you would be so kind. I would appreciate the mounting of the like button.
Meeting to order. Welcome to meeting number 130 of the House of Commons Standing Committee on Public Safety and National Security.
He's wearing a turban.
Just before I begin, I will ask media that once committee starts. Oh, we're good. Okay.
Monsieur le Président.
Today's meeting.
Chair.
I'd like to
pink
remind participants of the
turban.
following points. Please wait until I recognize you by name before speaking. All comments should be addressed through the chair. Members, please raise your hands if you wish to speak, whether participating in Zoom or in person. And the clerk and I will manage the speaking order as best I can. I do see Ms. Michaud has her hand up. So
Monsieur le Président, si vous permettez. Chair, I would like to speak before beginning. We begin our, if you allow me to do so. I gave a notice of motion the other day with respect to the situation, and I have spoken with colleagues about it. It would seem that there would be some support from all the parties, or at least from the Conservative Party and the Liberals, that I could perhaps deal with this very quickly before we move on to the witness. I know that everybody has received my motion, but pursuant to Standing Order 1082, the committee undertake a study of the consequences of Canada of the measures announced by Donald Trump during the American presidential campaign concerning the deportation of persons illegally present in the United States, and of the Canadian federal government's plan to ensure border security and compliance with federal immigration law and policies. That the committee invite the following witnesses to testify for 2 hours. And accompanied by senior officials, the Honourable Member Dominique Leblanc, Minister of Public Safety, the Honourable Mark Miller, Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship. And for 1 hour, Ms. Christian Hillman, Canadian Ambassador to the U.S., Mr. David Cohen, U.S. Ambassador to Canada, Ms. Chrystia Freeland, Chair of the Committee on Canada-U.S. Relations, Mr. Michael Duhem, Commissioner of the RCMP, and Ms. Erin O'Gorman, the President of the Canada Border Services Agency, as well as any witnesses the committee deems necessary in accordance with the committee's usual practices, that the committee give priority to the study and report its observations to the House. Can we debate this now before we move on to our witness?
You're already
Michaud,
half
there's a
an
motion
hour
on the floor
late.
from Ms. Michaud. Would anyone like to debate it? I'm seeing nodding heads. If there is unanimous consent from the committee, we can adopt this motion? Yes. Okay, motion adopted. Perfect. Thank you, Ms. Michaud.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I have a matter I'd like to quickly bring up before we get into the witnesses.
Sure.
Sure. I have a motion. It's been on notice. I'd like to move it. I'll read it into the record. Given that
Fucking
recent court
Canadians.
filings have revealed disturbing details about a thwarted ISIS-linked bomb plot targeting Jewish Canadians on Parliament Hill,
Oh
and
my
given that hate
God.
crimes have increased 251% over the past 9 years, the committee immediately prioritized a study to investigate the dramatic rise in terrorist plots and acts of violence targeting Canada's Jewish community, including the thwarted terror attack on Parliament
Anti-Semitism
Hill.
is on the rise in
That the
Canada
study be
too.
comprised
Isn't
of
it
no
a
less than
coincidence
6
that
meetings,
anti-Semitism is
that
on
the
the
Minister
rise
of Public Safety,
everywhere?
the Special Advisor on Jewish Community
Isn't that a
Relations,
coincidence that
and anti-Semitism to the
everyone
Prime
seems
Minister,
to
the Royal
hate a
Canadian
certain
Mounted
group
Police
of people?
Commissioner, the Director of the Parliamentary Protective
Like
Service,
literally in every
the Director
country,
of
all at the
Canadian
same
Security
time, for
Intelligence
no
Service,
apparent reason?
and other law enforcement officials and civil
Isn't that
society and
interesting?
academic organizations, including the Center for Israel and Jewish Affairs and B'nai B'rith, be invited to testify as part of this study, and that the committee report its findings and recommendations to the House. Now, Mr. Chair, just briefly, I'll say this is a very important motion, given what happened. I was at that rally last December. There were many people, hundreds of people, on the front lawn of Parliament Hill at that rally. If the RCMP hadn't done their good work in foiling this plot, the carnage would have been
Yes.
something that we would have
Jews
been,
are literally
never
hated for
been
no
able
reason.
to accept.
It is
The
completely
revelations
irrational.
about this foiled terrorist attack on Parliament Hill
It's not as
against
though
the Jewish
109
community
countries
strikes
haven't expelled
at the very
them.
heart of our democracy. It's something that
Anti-Semitism is on the rise
parliamentarians should be
everywhere
very concerned
for
about.
no apparent
I want to thank
reason.
my colleague, MP Raquel Dancho, fellow Winnipegger, for bringing forward this important motion. Now, I know we have an important witness here
We
today,
must
so
all
I
give all of our
suggest
money
that we
to
quickly
Israel
get to a
at all
vote on this
times,
motion so that we can
just so that they
get
won't
back to
call us
witnesses.
anti-Semitic.
Great, thank you, Mr. Morantz. This motion was originally brought by Ms. Dancho. The motion is on the floor, so I recognize Ms. Damoff.
Thank you so much, Chair, and I thank the honourable member for his words, and I agree with him. It's extremely concerning what's going on right now. I've had numerous
Has
conversations
nothing to do with Israel
Rabbi
killing
Stephen
tens of
Wise
thousands
in
of
my
innocent
riding,
people.
about the rise of anti-Semitism. I just read an article about the number of youth that are being radicalized to ISIS. But we also have another
ISIS.
problem in this country, and this is youth, the rise of Islamophobia, the rise of youth being radicalized predominantly online. So, Chair, I also had put in a motion.
Bruh.
I'm hoping that we can deal with Ms. Southern, who's taken the time to come in today, and we've summoned them. I would like to read the motion that I have, and I'm hoping that we can have a more fulsome debate on this at a future meeting. So the motion that I had proposed.
Sorry, Ms.
Sorry,
Damoff.
I don't want to
Seriously.
preclude my great colleague from introducing her motion.
I'm not
but
introducing it.
but
I'm not introducing it. I'm just going to read what I'm going to put forward. I'm not
so you're not
introducing
I'm
it
not
right now.
introducing it. I'm just
You're not
reading
moving
the
the motion.
I'm not
entire
moving it
fucking
right now,
motion.
no. I just want to read what I would be proposing. So what I would be proposing was that pursuant to Standing Order 1082, and given the growing trend of violent extremism, in particular the increase in youth involvement, the committee invite Brigitte Gauvin, Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP Deputy Commissioner for National Security, representative of the RCMP's Federal Policing Integrated National Security Enforcement Team, Robert Burley, Executive Director of the Canada Centre for Community Engagement and Prevention of Violence, officials for Public Safety Canada and the Canadian Security Intelligence Services, representatives from TikTok, X, Snapchat, Discord,
my
Reddit,
God.
Facebook, Telegram, Minecraft, and Roblox
Seriously.
to discuss the foiled terrorist plot against the Ottawa Jewish community, the rise of violent extremism, including anti-Semitism and Islamophobia, recent measures the federal government has undertaken to address it, and the role that social media and gaming platforms play in radicalizing youth and mobilizing
Minecraft?
violence. So, Chair, I could amend
Minecraft is
Mr.
terrorism
Morantz's
now.
motion to reflect what I would like to bring forward, but given that we have summoned this
What the fuck
witness
is
to
wrong
be
with
with
you?
us today, I'd like to move that we adjourn debate, and we can return to it at a future meeting.
Yeah. Why don't we get to the hearing? Very stunning, very brave. Let's get to Lauren Southern.
So that is a dilatory motion.
I want to clarify
no
because the member did preface that with a condition that given we have a witness here, which makes it non-dilatory. So I think
No.
that is a debatable motion. If the motion
not.
had been simply I move
Oh
that we
my
adjourn
fucking
debate,
god,
and I
I'm
would
back
agree
in
that's a
libertarian
dilatory
politics
motion.
again, and this is
But if you look back
no,
on what she actually
no.
said,
This is all
she said,
dilatory.
given that we
None
have a
of this has
witness here
anything
that
to do
we
with the
wanna get
hearing.
to, I
Stop
move
being so
that
fucking
A
Canadian.
debate be adjourned. I think you should consult with the clerk
No.
because I believe that makes the motion conditional
Oh
and
my
subject
God.
to debate.
I just became more
So
anti-Semitic.
from my review
the
of the
first
rules,
5
which I reviewed
minutes of
very
this
recently,
hearing.
Actually, it's not. I think the motion is in order. So we have a motion to adjourn debate on this on the floor.
Oh shit. I'm not even doing the right thing with this knitting.
Mr. Lloyd, on a point of order.
I wish to challenge the chair on that because
course.
if a dilatory motion is accompanied by a condition,
Of
it becomes a
course.
substantive motion. It is then subject to the rules on admissibility of
Oh
such
my
motions.
God.
And this is from 623. It also becomes debatable and amendable. This is from Chapter 20 of the Procedure and Practice, Boss and Gagnon. So
This is
I
not
believe your
fair.
ruling would be incorrect.
Just from my interpretation, I don't think there was a condition attached to what Ms. Damoff said. And they're shaking their heads.
Now we have.
Okay,
One in the
so
chat if you're
challenge to the
becoming
chair
more
on my
anti-Semitic because
second
of this
meeting,
hearing. Two in the chat if you think this is perfectly normal and fine.
Will the yes?
This wasn't
So the
even supposed to
question
be
is, shall
about
the
anti-Semitism.
decision of the chair be
I was
sustained?
completely unprepared for the amount of anti-Semitism that I'm engaging in right now because of this
Favor
nonsense.
is a vote for the chair, and against is a vote against
Yep,
the chair.
everyone's becoming more anti-Semitic, except for Azerwing.
Yes,
We're also
recorded vote.
becoming more anti-Canadian than we
Ms. O'Connell?
previously were.
Yes. Yes.
Ms. Damoff?
Yes?
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Ms. Zaid?
This is so stupid.
Mr. Erskine?
Yes.
Mr. Morantz? I vote not to sustain the chair. Mr. Lloyd?
Nay.
Mr. Mutz?
No.
No.
No. Madame Michaud? Mr. Jones? 6 in favor, yeas 6, nays, contre 5.
So the decision of the chair is sustained. Therefore, we go back to the motion brought by Ms. Damoff to adjourn debate on the motion that's brought forward by Mr. Morantz. Recorded vote, or do we have recorded vote? Okay.
Well,
Yes.
Ms. Damoff? Ms. Damoff?
Yes?
So stupid.
Ms. Zaid?
Such a waste of time.
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Already half an hour
Yes.
late.
Mr. Erskine Smith?
Yes.
Canadians ruin
Mr.
everything.
Morantz? Nope. Mr. Lloyd?
No.
All Canadians should be
Mr. Mutz.
deported immediately and go back to Canada
Shipley.
and leave us
No.
alone.
Madame
Canada
Michaud?
is going to be the second coming of the land of Retardia.
Mr. Jones?
No.
Donc, yeas 5, 5. Sorry, yeas pour 5, 5. Nays contre 6.
Yeah, the
Sis.
dastardly
So the
gamer
motion to
terrorists
adjourn
with their
is,
social media
defeated,
and their
and
Minecraft.
we return,
Exactly.
Back
Canada
to
is
the
not a
speaking
real
order.
country.
I have Mr. Lloyd.
This is not
Oh,
a serious
okay.
process.
So Ms. Damoff, you still have the floor. So the speaking order, I've been told, is actually in the discretion of the chair, and technically, Ms. Damoff, still has the floor. And yeah, I have Mr. Lloyd right after that, then Ms. Michaud, and then Mr. Johns. That's the order right now.
Can we
as it
please go
stands.
to the witness?
Chair, point of order.
Point of order by Mr. Shipley.
We believe that once you move a motion, that ends your turn of speaking.
Can we please just go to war with Canada and take over Canada? That's really what Trump should do. We should annex Canada.
So we've seen both. I've been
That
told
would put
by
a
the
stop
clerk
to this
in
bullshit
practice,
right quickly.
The same benefit that I extend to Ms. Damoff today, I promise to extend to all parties today and for future meetings.
And when we annex Canada,
So Ms. Damoff,
there's going to be no more
Chair, point
fucking
of order.
French
point
speaking
of
in
order by
Quebec.
Mr. Shipley.
We're putting
I
a
do this
stop
you
to
just
that
second
too,
me
'cause
again,
that's
but we're gonna
bullshit.
have to challenge the chair on that ruling.
The Canadians will thank us later.
So I've been informed by the clerk
They don't really like
that
Quebec
the
either.
speaking list is actually entirely in the purview of the chair, and it actually cannot be challenged.
This is so stupid.
Thank you, Mr. Shipley. So we return to Ms. Samoff.
Thank you, Chair. And I will repeat what I said before,
Oh
that
my
we took
God,
the time
lady.
to summon a witness. She's sitting here ready to testify on an issue that we
Let
all think is
her
important.
speak.
And I think it's really unfortunate that
You
that
didn't
we're
have to
delaying
bring this shit up in the first place,
I'm
lady.
going to propose an amendment to, a fairly substantial amendment
Oh.
to Mr. Morantz's motion.
This is so unfair. Of course, she's a fucking
And
liberal.
I do not have it in, yes, I do have it in both official languages. I don't know if it would be easier. It would, do they have it?
Yeah, you just read it in the record.
Okay, but in essence, what it will do is amend Mr. Morantz's motion to reflect the motion that I read previously. I don't want to take the time to read it again, but I will say that I think all members should be concerned about the number of youth that are being radicalized, and the fact that it's being done on gaming platforms, social media, and we need to broaden
Wow.
the study to be more
Yes,
than just
gaming
about
is
one
radicalizing
attack.
people to make
There
them
are multiple-
anti-Semitic. Yeah,
there are
Canada.
multiple
Yeah,
people.
this is what they. This
So
is. We need to go to war
I
with
will
Canada.
move
Like
my
I don't even
amendment,
know
and
why
I-
this is
I'm-
controversial.
I'm assuming
Canada
that you
is
want to
having
distribute it,
hearings
Chair.
about Minecraft
being
making
distributed
people
as we speak?
anti-Semitic.
Into the record. Pursuant to Standing Order
God.
1082, and given the recent court filings have revealed disturbing details about a thwarted ISIS-linked bomb plot targeting Jewish Canadians on Parliament Hill, and given the growing trend of violent extremism, in particular the increase in youth involvement, the committee invite Brigitte Gauvin, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police Deputy Commissioner for National Security, representatives of the RCMP's Federal Policing Integrated National Security Enforcement Team, Robert Burley, Executive Director of the Canada Centre for Community
The only
Engagement
good thing
and
about
Prevention
Quebec
of
is
Violence,
Montreal, where everybody speaks
officials from
English and
Public
it's
Safety
remarkably easy to
Canada
get laid
and the
out. Yeah,
Canadian
I like Montreal.
Security
I agree.
Intelligence
South
Service,
Pod.
the
Also,
Director of
poutine.
Parliamentary Protective Services,
Let's not forget poutine. We
representatives
can
from
keep the
TikTok,
poutine.
X, Snapchat, Discord, Reddit, Facebook,
Everything else
Telegram,
sucks, though.
Minecraft,
Canada
and Roblox,
sucks.
and civil society and academic organizations,
offense to
including the
Canadians,
Center
but-
for Israel and Jewish Affairs and B'nai B'rith, to discuss
Yeah.
the foiled terrorist
least now we
plot,
know
the
that
rise of
Minecraft
violent
is
extremism,
terrorist.
including anti-Semitism
Exactly.
and Islamophobia, recent measures the federal government has undertaken to address it, and the role that social media and gaming platforms play in radicalizing youth and mobilizing violence, that the committee report its finding and recommendations to the House, and pursuant to Standing Order 109, the government table a comprehensive response to the report. So, Mr. Chair, can I speak to it?
No.
Just briefly, I'm not
Yes.
going to speak for a long time because I really do want to get to our witness. But I do hope that members will recognize that this is a broad problem and one that we need to tackle. I know we have a lot on our plate, but I think it's important that we recognize the bigger issue that we have with young people being radicalized, whether it's to ISIS, whether it's to groups that target women, groups that target the LGBTQ2 community, groups that target the Muslim community, and I hope that all members will agree to this amendment and that we can move forward. Thank you, Chair.
Great, thank you, Ms.
Point
Samoff.
point of order, Mr. Chair. I'm just
Yep.
wondering if we could have a brief suspension just to discuss this motion.
Oh my God.
Sure. So
no.
the next speaking on the speaking list is Mr. Lloyd. So would you rather Mr. Lloyd speak to it, or would you rather?
I'll remain on the speaking list, but we'd like a short suspension.
Okay. So we'll suspend. So I will remind committee members that Ms. Southern has been waiting very graciously.
This
that
is
she
the
has
most
flown
retarded thing
from
that has ever
BC,
happened.
And this committee did summon her.
Yes.
So I just remind members of that.
Get to the
Thank you.
fucking witness. Oh my, now they're playing music. We're already 45 minutes late. Guys, the 5 p.m. stream is probably going to have to get pushed back because Canada is incompetent. I had a 5 p.m. stream all planned. Can we do that stream? No. Why? Because Canada is incompetent, should have started 45 minutes ago. When they start the hearing, they start talking about anti-Semitism and radicalization via Minecraft. Yeah. Yeah, they're, yeah. 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 They've apparently already worked themselves too hard, being 45 minutes late and talking about nothing relevant to Lawrence Southern or Tenet Media. And now they're taking a little bit of a break. Maybe they're having a snack. Maybe someone ordered a bottle of wine. Yes, what we just spent a good 15 minutes listening to is that the Canadian Parliament is holding a hearing about if youth are being radicalized via Minecraft, which is causing anti-Semitism. Because there has been a sharp uptick of anti-Semitism in Canada for no apparent reason, just like there's been a sharp uptick of anti-Semitism in America for no apparent reason. And the Canadian government is apparently very worried that Minecraft is radicalizing the youth to be anti-Semitic. And they have spent 15 minutes debating having a hearing about it, which has nothing to do with what we're here to watch with Lawrence Southern, but this is where we are. And this is why we need to invade Canada and go and take it over, because this should not be allowed. This is not acceptable. We need to go to war with Canada. And when we take it over, we're going to eliminate all French-speaking areas and all nonsense. Canada will become a territory like Puerto Rico. They won't have any voting power in the government, but, you know, they can hang out and stuff, but they're not going to have any voting power. It's going to be like American Samoa. No representatives, no Senate, but they can hang out, and we'll take all their resources, and we will provide for them. And we will run and we will run things for them. At the moment, yes, Vince, I am. Yes. Yep. But they're not going to be Americans. They're going to be Canadians. It's going to be like a territory. No voting power. No say. They've proven they are unworthy of decision-making responsibility. They need to have a caretaker. Obviously, the king isn't doing his job. The king is the king of Canada. He's not involved in any of this. This is what's gone, like, the king not having any actual powers is part of the problem, I think. We are currently writing an anti-Canada manifesto. This is what they pushed us to. Lawrence Southern is also probably writing an anti-Canada manifesto as she sits there waiting to testify. You know what? I mean, technically I am anti-war, but I really feel like exceptions can be made, and I really feel like we need to go to war with Canada and end all this bullshit. Well, the Governor General acts on behalf of the King, though. The Governor General is assigned by the King, and it reports to the King. Yeah, we're not talking about war, we're talking about mercy. That's exactly right, Sam. This isn't war. This is a merciful act by a benevolent leader. That's what we are. No, you haven't missed shit. No, nothing has happened. There's been a rousing debate about Minecraft and anti-Semitism, but there has been no Lawrence Southern testimony yet. We need to liberate Canada from this insanity. Can you imagine how other parts of the government are run when it's not televised on TV? Because this was all televised. They televised all that on the internet. Can you imagine what they do when it's not on TV? Guys, please mount the like button while we're waiting. It's not my fault Canada sucks. It's really not my fault. Mounting the like button will let YouTube know to recommend the stream to more people. That way more people can come and suffer with us. Because we're all suffering for this. We are suffering for Lawrence Southern right now. We're suffering. I will be pushing back my 5 p.m. stream until this nonsense is over. I'm just giving people a heads up. We are still going to do it, but we can't do it right now because Canada has already made me almost an hour late. Almost an hour late because of fucking Canada. Thanks, LK. I appreciate it. Everyone sitting here is pretty great as so far as I'm concerned. We're all suffering together. While they're writing some sort of motion about anti-Semitism and fucking gaming. Because they're taking a break. You can tell how seriously the House of Commons in Canada takes its national security Russia interference investigation, because anti-Semitism in Minecraft trumped the actual hearing. Yes. Your 8-year-old niece and nephew, or your 8-year-old nephew, yeah, niece and nephew love Minecraft. Does that make them anti-Semitic? Yes. According to Canada, it does. The Nazis played this music at the death camps in Minecraft. Probably true. Probably true. Probably true. Yeah. This is the world we live in, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, the song's over. Come back. See, right on cue. They were waiting for the music.
Yeah, I'll be brief, Mr. Chair.
Lauren Southern's probably fucking
I believe that you ruled this
annoyed.
amendment in order, and I think for a number of reasons, the precedents have been set that this amendment is out of scope of the original motion. It significantly changes the scope of the motion, and so I would like to challenge the chair's ruling that this amendment is in order.
Oh! They're continuing with the anti-Semitism debate.
Okay. So we are once again going to have a vote to sustain the chair's ruling. So the question is, will the ruling of the chair be sustained? Shall the decision of the chair be sustained? A vote in favor is supporting the chair's decision, and a vote against is obviously against the chair's decision, as before. So I'll call on the clerk to now ask.
Ms. O'Connell,
Yes.
Ms. Damoff,
Yes.
Ms. Zaid,
Yes.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mr. Erskine Smith,
Yes.
I am against sustaining the chair.
Mr. Lawrence against, Mr. Lloyd,
No.
Mr. Mutz,
No.
No.
Mr. Shipley,
No.
Madame Michaud,
En faveur.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
So we yeas 7, 7, nays contre 4, 4.
So the decision of the chair is sustained. Mr. Lloyd?
Thank you. I appreciate your consistency, Mr. Chair. Yeah, with that, I think it is important we get to the witnesses, so I would like to
Finally!
move that we adjourn debate on
Yes.
this.
I
Point
move
of-
on.
I just
No,
want
no point of order.
Sure.
No.
Mr.
Is
Connell?
he adjourning debate on the entire topic or just the amendment?
On
I just
the
want
entire
confirmation before we
topic.
vote.
So I'm being told by the clerk that procedurally it'll be on the whole.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I'm seeing nodding from across the room. So then we are adjourning debate on this motion and amendment. And then, okay, finally. Good. Thank you for your patience, Ms. Southern.
Finally.
So pursuant to Standing Order 1082
1 hour
and the
later.
motion adopted on September 19th, 2024, the committee resumes its study of Russian interference and disinformation campaigns in Canada. I'd like to now welcome our witness today, Ms. Lauren Southern. Ms. Southern, for your benefit, I'd like to specify that the testimony of yourself or of any witness is protected by parliamentary privilege.
Yeah,
The
for
House of
real.
Commons procedure
Well, we'll see how
practice
Lauren
states
Southern
the following.
Thanks, Nuri.
Witnesses appearing before the committees enjoy the same freedom of speech and protection from arrest and molestation as do members of parliament. Before we proceed, I do have to inform the committee that the summons could not be served to Liam Donovan. So the committee can decide if they want to.
That's interesting.
Taking
So they
action
couldn't
there.
serve Lauren Chen's husband.
And we're going to move on to.
Is he on the run? Is he on the
questions.
lam? What's going on? Where's Lauren Chen's husband?
Oh, sorry. Oh, we're going to move on to opening statements first. Ms. Southern, your opening statement, please.
Thank you. Honorable Chair, esteemed members of this committee, I would like to thank you for so enthusiastically inviting me to speak today. My name is Lauren Southern. I am a filmmaker, a YouTuber, and a proud Canadian. In late 2023, I was contracted to make weekly videos by a startup company called Tenet Media. Then recently, the U.S. Department of Justice released an indictment which alleges the founders of Tenet created the company in conjunction with 2 Russian citizens with funding ultimately originating from the Russian government. Per the indictment, the founders of Tenet Media deceived the personalities they contracted regarding their alleged source of funding. I'll make a few points clear at the outset. At no point in my involvement with Tenet did I ever have knowledge of the allegations in the indictment. And 2, the only person who ever had any creative control over my videos was me. No one from Tenet or anywhere else ever dictated what topics I covered or what opinions I held. I always seek to fight disinformation in all of its forms, and therefore I have a duty to inform this committee that disinformation has been spreading within these very walls. Some in the media and even witnesses to this committee have attempted to paint a picture of Tenet as a hugely influential player in the political media landscape. This, frankly, is just not true. A previous witness to this committee who went unchallenged stated that Tenet Media controlled a network of over 16 million subscribers. This is not true. On their largest platform, YouTube, Tenet had barely over 300,000 subscribers. I believe the 16 million figure referred to the total number of subscribers among all of the personalities who had videos contracted or licensed by Tenet. Subscriber base is that, given all of the facts, Tenet had absolutely no control over. To claim that Tenet controlled those subscribers would be like claiming that a TV network had influence over the United States presidency because they air reruns of The Apprentice. The same witness claimed Tenet garnered over 1 billion video views and 20 billion impressions. I have absolutely no idea where those numbers came from. Very readily available public data shows that on its largest platform, YouTube, Tenet received only 16 million total views. Based on the witness's specious numbers, he asserted that Russia received extraordinary value for their money. Anyone with even a cursory understanding of new media would know, however, that $10 million for 16 million views on YouTube hardly qualifies as extraordinary value. In fact, it qualifies as a total failure. So there is, in fact, a silver lining here. If the allegations are true, it appears Russia did attempt to influence Western media, but they failed pretty miserably. Now, I know the chief concern of this committee is how this debacle may have influenced Canadians. Well, I was the only Canadian commentator and the only host that consistently discussed Canadian issues. In fact, if the company had any creative control over me, which they didn't, they probably would have asked me to stop making Canadian videos since they didn't perform very well. So if you were worried about this alleged Russian money unduly influencing Canadian issues, good news, didn't happen. And I'll be honest, it has been surreal for me to watch our government, experts, and media assert that scripts I would jot down in my notes app in a line at the grocery store were secretly part of a giant foreign influence campaign. Arguably, the largest actual impact on Canadians here has been the amount of tax dollars they've had to spend investigating this non-issue.
True.
Some in the media and this government seem to have concluded that the only reason a regular Canadian could possibly hold certain views that do not align with the current Liberal administration is because of pernicious, widespread Russian disinformation. I would like to propose an alternative hypothesis, and I know it may sound insane. I know this breaches the borders of conceivable thought, but maybe, just maybe, some Canadians consulted their own moral compass and decided they don't want this country funding foreign wars. Maybe they looked around them at the hospital lineups or housing prices and thought immigration might be a little high. Maybe they lost their business during lockdown and think, I worry about my freedoms in this country. Some in this government are hell-bent on drastically exaggerating the extent of foreign influence because they can't seem to stomach the idea that they might be wrong about something and that a growing majority of Canadians legitimately and organically oppose what they are doing. They simply can't conceive that they are becoming unpopular naturally, so there must be foul play at work. Let me make this abundantly clear once more. No one but myself and my true experiences as a Canadian have informed my opinions. And to any members of this government who may be listening, I would suggest you familiarize yourself with these opinions because they are rapidly becoming the views of the majority of this nation. Thank you.
Yeah! Excellent.
Thank you, Ms. Southern. So we
Excellent,
start with
Lauren
the
Southern.
Speaking with the questions.
Oh, sevens for
Mr.
Lauren
Lloyd,
Southern, telling
for
them to
6
go
minutes.
fuck themselves.
Thank you. You answered my question, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ms. Southern, for coming to this committee today. This has been a very interesting study, and I found your statement today interesting, and it answered a number of my questions that I was going to have for you, but I still have some additional questions. The indictment itself, which you've read the indictment, I assume, alleges that RT employees and Tenet Media used a fake persona named Edward Gregorian to deceive the commentators. Were you ever approached to make content by someone posing as Edward Gregorian?
No, the call I had well over a year ago now that signed me up for the company, I was told vaguely about a tech investor. I can't remember the exact name I was given, but I never spoke to someone named Edward Gregorian.
When were you first approached to do work for Tenet Media?
I wish I could remember the exact date, but it would have been probably 4 months before the company launched.
Okay. And the indictment alleges that this Kalashnikov character edited your videos in the past. Like, is this true? One, and I'll continue. In the past, have you allowed others to edit your videos? Is this a common practice?
The editing process is just the cutting and adding of audio. In fact, any sort of text that would be on screen or any sort of words said by me were entirely under my control. They had these individuals under the fake name editing the initial videos, and then I got an American editor assigned to me later on, and I also edited some videos in-house. But once again, the editing process has no control over the actual content of the videos.
So you would sign off on the final content of the videos?
I would go in and I would say, cut at 2 minutes 30, it's going too long, add a soundtrack at 3 minutes. I had full control.
So you can't say for sure whether or not this Kalashnikov person was involved in the editing at any time?
I mean, I don't know. They had, I believe it was someone under a fake name.
Okay, thank you for that. Now, the U.S. indictment alleges that commentators were paid upwards of $100,000 to produce this content. How much was this? What you found in your experience was what content creators were being paid by Tenet?
This was one of the large surprises for myself when the indictment dropped. I was on $275,000 for all operations. That was not my personal salary. I was contracted to make 3 videos a week, news reports, and 2 mini documentaries, and I had multiple staff, including researcher and assistant. So this budget paid for my studio, flights, videographers, staff, myself. I only made around 100,000 Canadian for my personal salary. So if you want to do a separate panel on the wage gap and alleged foreign influence campaigns, we can certainly do that.
What sort of due diligence did you perform before you began working with Tenet Media? Like, did you ever question where this kind of money was coming from? Did you not find it at all suspicious?
Once again, given the budget I was given and the offer I was given from 2 people who have worked in media and were employed by The Blaze, Lauren Chen, it was not suspicious that this would be a startup company whatsoever. Once again, I was running a severely underfunded operation. In fact, at multiple points, I found it difficult to continue to make multiple documentaries each month. And to afford that, I needed more staff on board. And so I would apply for more funds and was told that the company simply didn't have them available, given it was a small startup.
And do you feel that you were taken advantage of in this situation? Do you feel you were deceived by Lauren Chen and Liam Donovan?
Well, I mean, I wasn't given the information in the indictment, so if it's all true, then yes.
That seems clear. With that, Chair, do I have any more? How much time do I have left?
You still have 2 minutes left, actually.
Well, you actually answered a lot of my questions on this already, Ms. Southern, so I'll have to regroup and pass it on to the next speaker. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Lloyd. So the next speaker is Mr. Erskine Smith for 6 minutes.
Thanks very much, Chair. I just want to get back to the amount that you were compensated. You said you made $100,000 personal that you were able to take home with you, but what was the total amount before you paid out different contracts?
5,000 US.
Sorry, I missed that. It was 200 and something thousand US?
275,000 US.
Okay, and how many videos did you create for Tenet Media?
It must have been upward of 80. I don't know. I couldn't tell you the exact number, but quite a few. I had three.
Okay.
Sorry, let me give you more specifics. I was contracted to do 3 videos a week and 2 mini documentaries a month.
Okay, and you said they only have 300,000 subscribers. Is that right?
Yeah, but what's more interesting to me is that it was only, I believe, a few months before the indictment dropped that they only had around 100,000 subscribers. And in fact, I had a documentary with the company that was at around 10,000 views for a long time. And mere days before the indictment dropped, it was at millions. So I think the numbers, and I know that there were ad campaigns done to promote the videos, but I think the numbers have been massively inflated by those who have an interest in exaggerating foreign interference.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, what was your idea of the business model here? Because I mean, they're paying you $275,000 US, and I know you're taking home 100,000 after that, but there are others with even more followers and presumably going to get paid more as a result in their sort of stable of influencers. How are they making money off this?
Well, I mean, I was the top contributor, so I was getting some of the top view counts at the site. I was hustling very hard to make sure my videos did well, trying to grow the company. I did not know the salaries of my peers, so I was under the assumption that they were getting paid the same, if not less, because I was doing a large amount of videos. So it made sense, certainly, that a startup from someone at a tech company could give the amount of money necessary. And certainly I was being asked to start doing advertisements at Tenet. And I assumed, you know, the startup money must be drying up and they need to integrate ads into this. It certainly made sense from all the information I was provided.
And who was your main point of contact? Was it Lauren Chen was your main point of contact at Tenet?
No, I was typically Liam, but really I was kind of just left alone as long as I was fulfilling my contract. I wasn't speaking to them that often.
No, but someone comes to you and they say, we want you to join this, and they make a pitch. You're not just going to join anything. So it was Liam that made the pitch and sold you on it?
Lauren made the pitch, and then Liam sent the contracts over.
Okay, so Lauren made the pitch. What was your relationship like with Lauren before she made the pitch to you?
Cordial. They're very friendly people. We had met in person before. We had 10 years of knowing her in the same industry as me. She's always kind of just made pretty decent videos on YouTube and for The Blaze and various other companies. I mean,
she's in your world. You've known her for 10 years. I mean, you've read the indictment, I assume. So here, she and Liam are talking about the Russians and that they are aware of where this money's coming from. That must have sent chills down your spine that you've been working for Russian money.
We still, if I know anything about my time spent in media and people speculating both about the work I've done and personal life and all these things, it's that unless I was there, I don't know anything. I don't know what happened. And I'm not going to make comments about Liam or Lauren because I do not know the inside out of what went on there, other than the comments in the indictment.
So you weren't, right, so you read the indictment and you sort of shrugged then and you said, well, I wasn't there. I don't know that this is true. So it's of no concern.
I certainly didn't shrug. I'm not looking to work for any, I'm not looking to be an asset of any government, foreign or domestic for that matter. So no, I was not happy with the idea that I would be working for. I was certainly happy with the integrity of my work, all of which was done of my own volition, all my own opinions. And if there's any concerns by this committee about anything I may have published that was not factual, I'd be happy to correct that. But
well, one thing, I don't know. I mean, one thing you said in your opening, you're talking about sort of people getting frustrated with this federal government, but you said one of your major examples was people who have lost business during the lockdown. I mean, sure, people were obviously very frustrated if they lost business during the lockdown, but you must know, having been very vocal on this, that it was provincial governments that implemented lockdowns, right? You are aware of that.
Sure, but there were plenty of acts by the federal government to shut down legitimate protests, shut down people's bank accounts.
No. Business. Sorry, you said lost my business during the lockdown. I mean, that's you would know. I assume that would be a provincial matter.
I think you're getting
only
into
major
semantics here. There are plenty of reasons to be concerned about freedom
The
in
difference
Canada.
between provincial and federal governments are certainly not semantic differences. You also said, though, in your opening, your views are rapidly becoming the views of the majority of this nation. Do you think the Great Replacement theory is going to become the views of the majority of this nation anytime soon?
Here it is.
Depends what you mean by the Great Replacement theory.
Has nothing to
What
do
do you
with
mean?
Russia.
Well, what do you mean by the Great? Well, that there's an active attempt to replace a white population with a non-white population. What do you mean by it?
I think that there are a lot of people that have concerns about the impacts of mass immigration removing the culture in certain areas. I think you could ask people in Brampton or individuals in Surrey what they think about the language being spoke around them, whether it's a Canadian language whatsoever, whether they feel that their culture is being preserved. I don't think it's an insane concept. And in fact, I think many liberals would agree that many cultures and peoples have been replaced before by mass immigration, our Indigenous population not least of all.
That's a smart answer.
You might think it's insane, though, to head over to Russia, speak with a neo-fascist Alexander Dugin, and then praise the guy to say...
Sorry, Mr. Erskine-Smith.
You might think that's a level of insanity.
Mr. Erskine-Smith, sorry. No, the time is up. We're actually over a little bit. So hopefully another member, can give you time to answer the question, but we're actually already over the time.
Point of order, Mr.
Madam
Chair. Point of order. I think it's fair to allow the witness to answer the question.
So I'm going to move on to Madam Michaud, and then Mr. Johns.
Point of order also.
If you'd like, you can give her time to answer that question from your time.
Point of order.
Yeah, Mr. Shipley.
We've been sitting in this committee for many months, many years now, and prior to you taking over that chair, that was always the policy. If there was a question asked, that the witness did have a chance to answer. That was always the policy.
So I actually tried to stop Mr. Erskine-Smith from asking the question. I spoke while he was speaking.
Of some insane things, and I think...
So again, if members feel differently, then they can give the witness time to answer from their own time. Madame Michaud, pour 6 minutes.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Not
Thank you,
even letting her
Chair.
answer.
Thanks, Ms. Southern. I'm going to be speaking French, so I hope that you can hear me, that you can hear the interpretation. Thank you for coming here to testify. You mentioned earlier that you had 100% control over your videos. I really haven't had the opportunity to look at your videos, but could you give us an idea of the subjects that you dealt with on the videos? And your understanding of why you were approached by Tenet Media in the first place. Why they would have chosen you to make 3 videos per week and several documentaries per month. Just give us an idea, please.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to take 2 seconds to respond to the allegations that I'm an insane person quickly for interviewing Alexander Dugin. Given my inspiration for the interview was from TVO's The Agenda, Steve Peikin, who interviewed Dugin. I don't think we would be calling him insane in this House. I think there is a deliberate effort to slander me for political purposes. Now, to answer your question as to why you think I would be picked to make these videos, I've made a lot of content over the past 10 years, multiple documentaries that have received millions of views and really encouraged a lot of people to consider ideas they haven't thought of before, like the plight of farmers in South Africa who are being murdered, or my film Borderless, which covered mass immigration to Europe from the perspective of immigrants who, quite frankly, were being screwed over and sold alive by human traffickers. I think that I have a long history of creating very honest journalism that addresses issues that a lot of people are too afraid to broach, and that's why I believe I was approached by Tenet to work for them.
Did you make videos about the Canadian policies, about politics here in this country, about the stance in Ukraine and Russia's involvement?
I don't believe I recall making a single video about the Russia-Ukraine situation, but I certainly made videos about Canada, and they were all based on my own experience living here as a Canadian. I made a video about housing prices in Vancouver, for example, something I have seen just go to absurd levels. I have families that live around me in my community who have been forced to live in trailer parks because the housing prices have gone so high. They cannot afford rent. I look at the inflation with groceries, families struggling to afford food because the taxes are so high, because of bad policy put in by this Liberal government. And I make videos on these subjects. I make videos about the concerns of mass immigration without integration. You know, just a few weeks ago, I had a friend of mine almost lose her daughter's life because an immigrant that refused to get a proper driver's license smashed into her car, just missing her daughter, and then tried to intimidate her into not contacting ICBC. When we have these issues of mass immigration without integration, when we have these issues of so many foreign buyers coming into this country and inflating prices, when we have these issues of not putting the Canadian populace first, people want to hear these opinions. And I'm sorry to tell you once again to the people here who might think that this is all foreign propaganda. It's not. No one told me to have these opinions. I grew up in Surrey. I grew up in BC. I live in this country. I live paycheck to paycheck right now, you know? I struggle under this government, as many other Canadians do. And all of the opinions I put out here are my honest opinion.
Je vous remercie. Je sais pas si vous...
Thank you. Could you explain the events that led to the criminal inquiry on the media and the allegations that have been made about the videos? Were you surprised when this all arose? Were you suspicious before this, how it started?
And I had no reason to be suspicious. Of course, I was surprised when the indictment dropped. I did not have knowledge of what was in the indictment. Once again, I can't comment to how this all happened because I was simply a contracted video creator. I just made videos for them.
Je vous remercie. Vous semblez...
Thank you. I certainly understand your situation, but you seem to be taking very lightly this whole issue of foreign interference that does exist.
Oh, come on.
And Russian interference does
How is
exist
she taking it lightly
Canada
by saying I was expressing my own opinions?
Does that not concern you?
No.
As much as it concerns me in terms of our democratic institutions.
No,
the fact
it doesn't
that
concern me at
this does exist and can harm our
Lady, I make videos on the internet.
Once again, as I opened in my speech,
That
there
should
were
be a
individuals
response.
that were witnesses to this committee who went unchallenged, who claimed that Tenet Media made the one of the number one podcasts in the world, the Rubin Report. The Rubin Report was created 10 years before Tenet even existed and had no association with Tenet Media. Dave Rubin, God bless him, his actual show at Tenet Media struggled to even reach hundreds of views. And yet that level of misinformation was coming from within these very walls. So forgive me if I seem like I am downplaying what is going on, but there has been a great exaggeration to the point of lying within this committee about the level of foreign interference happening. And the biggest concern I have is the regular Canadians that I interviewed, that inspired my videos, that inspired my content, that are being slandered as Russian disinformation, rather than, you know, the people here who might be disturbed by me correcting the record.
Merci.
Thank you, Madam Michaud. Mr. Johns for 6 minutes.
Ms. Southern, before collaborating with other influencers, what steps do you take to ensure the media in which you are appearing is acting lawfully?
What steps do I take to ensure the media I'm appearing in is acting lawfully?
Yeah.
I don't think that, you know, as much as I would love to be able to afford a private investigator to go and confirm every contract I sign, 10 years of working with someone in the same industry and 10 years of working with someone in the same industry and being given a very standard boilerplate contract that I would get from any other company. I've never had this happen before. And I think in retrospect, it's easy to say that I should have done more investigation, but what investigation would you have done in my shoes?
I think right. I think it's important to do due diligence, and you have significant following on social media platforms where misinformation can spread rapidly. How do you ensure that the content you share is not used by foreign entities to amplify narratives that undermine Canadian democracy or national security?
Are you accusing me of spreading narratives that have undermined
I'm just asking
democracy?
you a question, just like, you know, in terms of how do you ensure that the content you share is not used by foreign entities to amplify narratives that undermine Canadian democracy or national security? What measures do you take?
Sir, I make
ensure
videos
that
on the
every
internet.
contract I sign and have ever signed in media gives me full creative control of every single thing I say and publish. That's how I ensure it.
Well, there's concerns that individuals or groups may be unintentionally aiding foreign governments and spreading divisive narratives. How do you respond to allegations that your online
Divisive
content has
narrative
been
means
used to further
unpopular
Russian
opinion.
propaganda or influence Canadian public opinion?
As far as I'm aware, just this month, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced a pause to immigration or a decrease in immigration for the next 3 years, citing unsustainable growth. This is one of the critiques that has been my main critique on Tenet media and off Tenet media. And having it portrayed as Russian disinformation by this committee or even aiding and abetting Russians has been very interesting. I may understand I may have been right too early on this issue, and as so I must be socially punished by this regime. But although much too late, I happen to believe that Justin Trudeau is making the correct decision there, and I would hope that this committee wouldn't advocate Canadians stop drinking water or wearing seatbelts because someone with the last name Ivanov or Petrov suggested it was a good idea.
No, that's not what we're asking, but what is your stance on foreign interference in Canadian elections and political discourse? Do you believe there is a clear and present danger from foreign actors such as Russia? And if so, what responsibility do individuals like yourself bear in preventing the spread of foreign influence? Do you take
I was
any
a commentator for a channel who had full control over the videos I made, and I ensured they were truthful. If you want to point to anything I've said that has been disinformation or aiding and abetting...
I'm actually asking what you believe. Do you believe there is a clear and present danger from foreign actors such as Russia?
No.
And if so, what responsibility do you believe the individuals like yourself and your platform
None.
prevent aid in preventing the spread of foreign influence?
I think that it is rich that I am sat here and being asked what I have to do to stop foreign influence and foreign interference as a Canadian citizen. Well, we sit here with MPs like Jennifer O'Connell, who said boo-hoo to Conservatives who wanted actual elected politicians working with foreign governments to be exposed.
So, I am a regular Canadian. So, sorry, I take it you don't take responsibility. I'm sorry, it's not your turn, Ms. O'Connell. I'm going to continue. How do you reconcile your business model, which prioritizes user engagement and raking in massive profits from clicks, with the necessity to protect users from harmful disinformation that can lead to real-world consequences like hate-based violence?
Where are the massive profits?
How is anyone in this committee supposed to stop disinformation abroad if they can't stop it within this committee? Why wasn't Ben Scott, why wasn't he challenged when he cited false numbers about Tenet's views? Why wasn't he challenged when it was said that Tenet created the top podcast in the world, that they were getting billions of impressions? If we cannot stop disinformation within this committee, I'm sorry, but no one here is stopping disinformation coming from abroad or foreign interference.
What effects do you believe your content has on Canadians?
I think I speak for the majority of Canadians. I think I speak for people who don't have a voice in this government. I think I speak for people who feel they have been censored and shut up for too long by the mainstream media, and I'm proud of it.
Okay, so do you and I'm glad we're talking about how you personally feel. Can you speak about how you feel about your online content, since it was aiding in objectives that were planned, plotted, and executed in the Kremlin?
Would you say that Justin Trudeau's reduction of immigration was aiding and abetting the Kremlin? Should he be pulled here because he had the same ideas that I had?
I'm asking you, do you have any personal feelings that your online content was aiding in those objectives?
I do not. I disagree with that. I think I have very normal opinions that were all coming from myself. No one told me to have my views. No one forced me to have my opinions. My opinions are based on living and growing up in this country.
Okay. Have you ever been in direct or indirect contact with Russian government officials, organizations, or agents?
I've spoken to RT before in the past.
Okay.
Before the war.
So, can you provide more information about the nature of these interactions, if any?
Yeah, I believe I've done contributions to RT before, as many did pre-war, including Larry King, including Michael Moore. I think the only interview I ever did that even had anything to do with Canada was a brief interview on the trucker convoy, which was a live report on events happening around me. And I would have been just as willing to share that report with the CBC if they had asked me.
Mr. Jones, that does conclude the first round. Thank you. We move on to the second round now, and Mr. Shipley, you are first.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to Ms. Southern for being here today. Some of these questions have probably already been asked, but we'll make it a little repetitive. But if you could just give us a little more context to these. My first question is, have you ever been employed by a digital media company to create content before signing on with Tenet?
Yes,
Did you want to elaborate on that?
Rebel Media.
And before signing on with Tenet, had your content ever been monetized on YouTube?
Yes.
What was your relationship with Lauren Chen and Liam Donovan? How did they pitch this platform to you? Where were you? What were you offered? And what due diligence did you do before signing on?
They were colleagues of mine in the media sphere, working for various different companies. We had brushed shoulders at political events before, maybe only a handful of times. Lauren and I were fairly friendly. She called me and told me that they were starting up a new company, that they had an investor that was in the tech realm. And I wasn't that interested at first, to be honest. And then she called me a few more times and told me that it would be a totally free speech contract. I could do whatever I wanted. They sent me the offer. And at that time, I was looking to expand and hopefully be able to hire some staff to improve the quality of my videos, and being able to do so while having total freedom and control over the content I produce is, quite frankly, something you get at almost no media companies, very few anyways. So that's why I haven't worked at very many the last 10 years, other than Rebel, which had a similar contract. But yeah, I considered myself pretty lucky to have found a startup company that was looking to give their creators full creative control.
You did travel to Russia in 2018 and published an extensive interview with Alexander Dugin, a man who is referred to as Putin's brain. During your trip to Russia, did you engage with any other political actors? Have you maintained a relationship with any individuals that you met in Russia?
Yes, during my trip to Russia, I did interview quite a few other subjects. I decided against publishing those interviews as I felt that there might be some influence on the direction of them. And I only published the Dugin one because I totally arranged that one.
Have you been back to Russia since February 24, 2022?
I have not been back to Russia.
You unlisted several videos from your YouTube channel on the topic of the war in Ukraine and your travels to Russia. When did you unlist these YouTube videos and why?
I actually enlisted significantly more videos than just those. Things that had to do with just life and relationships and various different topics. I have made a decision a few months ago that I want to take a break from social media altogether. I think the entire thing has become very unhealthy, and one of the ways that I engage with it now is if I go on social media, I remove content instead of add it. So you'll look at this if you find my Instagram, there have been lots of selfies of me removed. If you look at my Twitter, there have been lots of tweets of mine removed. So I go back and I choose a video or a post to remove instead of adding to it, since I think that we have really lost the thread of sanity on the internet these days.
That's true enough.
I think there's definitely some truth to that.
That is true,
I want to keep
Lauren
asking some
Southern, that
questions,
is
but I'm just going to
true.
take a brief moment aside from that. And I do want to put a verbal notification of a motion. And that motion will be, given that it is reported this week that the families of Paul Bernardo's victims had been denied the right to deliver their impact statements in person at his upcoming parole hearing, and that the parole board is now saying it is, quote, currently working to accommodate the in-person presentation of statements by victims, end of quote, who wish to appear at the November 26 hearing, that the committee invite the Minister of Public Safety, the chairperson of the Parole Board of Canada,
Another
the federal
aside.
ombudsperson for victims of crime, to appear separately for 1 hour each to testify on how these decisions are made and the process of determining
Guys,
whether
I
they are
pushed back the
unable
5
to
p.m.
ensure
stream
safety
until
and
6
security
p.m. to
of
accommodate
all
the rest
hearing
of this
attendees,
hearing.
and that these
We'll
appearances
stick with this
occur
hearing for as long as
before
it's going
December
on, and then we'll do our
17th.
normal stream,
I'll speak
okay?
very briefly to this because I do want to
Please
get
make
back
sure
to
you mount
Ms.
the like
Southern.
button for me. Mounting
I
the
just
like button
obviously
lets
everybody's
YouTube
probably aware
know
of
to recommend my
happened this
content to
week
more
with the
people. I
French
really do
Mahaffey
appreciate it.
families being barred from attending Paul Bernardo's parole hearing in person. Frankly, I was shocked and disgusted to hear this had taken place. The parole board stated they were unable to ensure safety and security for all hearing the attendees. Not sure why that would be different now when he was in maximum security. They were allowed to attend, being moved into medium. They're now saying that security was going to be an issue. So we did hear from the lawyer from the families, Tim Danson. He stated, quote, it was nothing short of gut-wrenching to experience the painful and heartbreaking reaction of Debbie Mahaffey and Donna French when they learned that the PBC was prohibiting them from representing their daughters and themselves and denying them the right to confront Paul Bernardo in person. He went even further in his letter, calling the PBC's decision, quote, bone-chilling, and argued that it runs contrary to the Corrections and Conditions Release Act, which he said enshrines the right to in-person's victim impact statements. Mr. Danson also stated, "It is incredible how the system is there to assist and benefit Canadians' most notorious sadist, sexual, psychopath, and murderer, but not as victims who suffer every day." And I just, as I said, Chair, I just wanted to put that on verbal notification, please.
Thank you, Mr. Shipley. It's on notice and your time is up. Next, we will move to Ms. Samoff.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ms. Southern, for being here today. I want to go back to your trip that you took to Russia in 2018. Who paid for that trip?
I paid for it.
You mentioned that you did several interviews there. Were you paid for those interviews?
I was not paid to do any of those interviews.
So I mean, it's come up who you interviewed while you were there, Alexander Dugin, who not only has been referred to as Vladimir Putin's brain. Actually, before I ask you this, how did you get an interview with him?
I watched an episode of The Agenda with Steve Peikin, where he interviewed Alexander Dugin, and then at a either earlier or later date, he also interviewed a translator of Dugin's, who was a University of Toronto PhD student. And I contacted either him or one of his translators and got his email and said, "Mr. Dugin, could I conduct an interview with you?" And in a very brief response, he just said yes.
So I just want to read, in 2014, Dugin said Russia should, quote, kill Ukrainians. He's previously been involved with Pomyat, which has been described as the most significant anti-Semitic organization since Perestroika. He's expressed his admiration for the SS, adopting the alter ego named Hans Sievers, named after the war criminal, who was general secretary of a Nazi research institute that Heinrich Himmler established. I'm just curious. I know you've mentioned Steve Paikin a number of times, and I had limited time to look here, slightly different than the interview that you did. I'll just be honest. Why would you want to platform someone like that?
The exact same reason Steve Paikin did and TVO did, because he is an interesting geopolitical figure, and I was more right than I bargained for initially at how interesting he would get. When I watched the TVO interview and when I watched the work of Michael Millerman, one of his translators, they kind of figured these ideas of...
Do you agree with his views on Ukraine?
No. I don't think we should kill the Ukrainians. On the contrary, I think we should be trying to not kill anybody. Not a big fan of killing people, Ukrainian or otherwise.
And do you prescribe to his anti-Semitic views?
No. Once again, you're interviewing me right now. Do you agree with all of my opinions?
No, I actually find some of them quite offensive. I'm just curious what a Canadian language is. Is that Ojibwe and Cree?
Typically in Canada, our national languages are English and French. I kind of figured this was common knowledge in here, but...
Okay. Well, I guess, it's funny. I was just in the Baltic countries and met with the NATO Center of Excellence on Strategic Communications. And a lot of what you put out aligns perfectly with the type of Russian misinformation that I heard about, particularly around immigration. But anyway, that's just a comment. You have been you keep referring to Steve Paikin and the fact that he did an interview with someone. You went to Russia, if I'm not mistaken, you were barred from going to the UK, is that correct?
Yes, I was barred from going to the UK.
And why was that?
That was because I tried to set up a pride parade in Luton, and the Islamic population there typically are not a big fan of that. And I was told that it was stirring up hatred.
And so you went to Russia to stir up hatred against Jews?
I'm so sorry. What are you referring to?
Look who you deliberately made a trip to Russia to interview someone who is one of the most anti-Semitic people
lady.
around. Like, is it just to be controversial? Is that, do you find that funny?
What part? Yeah, I do find it funny that you were accusing me of taking a trip to Russia to stir up hatred around Jews when I don't think Jews came up once during my interview with Alexander Dugin. I don't know where you're getting that from. And once again, Steve Peikin conducted an interview with him. I guess you would have to make the same anti-Semitic accusation against TVO.
Ms. Southern, his views are well known, and you deliberately went there, so you're basically trying to create chaos. Funny thing is, that's what they say Russia does with all the things that they do, is try to create chaos in society. So it sounds like your goal is to try and create chaos.
Based on what evidence?
I don't get the sense that you have a lot of respect for Western liberal democracy as it is. So anyway, that's my time, Chair.
Wow.
Thank you,
This
Ms.
is
Emma.
Canada. This is why we need to take over
Madame
Canada.
Michaud, pour
We need a
terminer
war
Dani.
with Canada.
2.5 minutes, Madame Michaud. Thank you very much, Chair. I'd like to come back to the monetary issue that was addressed earlier. You said that Tenet Media gave you a $275,000 US dollar budget, and your take home was about 100,000 Canadian. That's what you earned for yourself. Yes. Thank you. Did anybody at any time ask you to reimburse that money? When Tenet was closed, when there were allegations, did you meet any by the RCMP or CSIS or any type of security service that you met further to that?
So I have not been asked to reimburse any of that money, but I have been visited by CSIS, who quite frankly have been putting immense psychological pressure on me to become an informant on this subject and other subjects. Ultimately, I declined because I'm not looking to become an asset for foreign governments nor this government, and I did not like the way in which they threatened and stalked me. And I would like to know how much Canadians paid for that, by the way.
Thank you. In the UN reported last September, in February 22, that Russia had begun an illegal war on Ukraine. There were more than 11,000 civilians killed and many other thousands that were injured. That's a lot of people. What would you think about being an agent for this type of country that would wage this type of war on another country? Does not that put you ill at ease?
You will never catch me speaking ill of the Ukrainian people. They are good people, and it is horrific what is happening to them and the losses that are happening to their community. And I hope that the suffering they are going through ends, and I hope that the Ukrainian people will be free. I do not and have never wanted to be an agent of any state, an asset of any state, foreign or domestic, and I have always, at any inkling that that is happening, have run the other way.
Merci. Mr. Johns for 2.5 minutes.
I really only have one burning question left, and that's, do you take any steps whatsoever to verify that the people paying you are legitimate and don't have ulterior motives?
This would not be a question being asked of any individual working in media, if not for the retrospect of this situation. I've had contracts, I've worked with many individuals. They have all looked the same as Tenet, and they have never come up with this problem. This is a very unique circumstance. And once again, I think the eyes of retrospect are playing heavy on your questioning.
Well, I think given the situation and that you're the Tenet's been under investigation.
You're under investigation.
With the U.S. government.
That was
I think
a Freudian
it does
slip.
Qualify as a reasonable question.
If you think that there was a action I should have or could have taken that the average person would normally do, please do let me know, Mr. Johns.
Will you take any, in the future, will you be doing any significant efforts to ensure that that the people are paying you are legitimate and don't have ulterior motives? Is this something that you're going to incorporate into your future business model?
I have always worked very hard to ensure that the things I am doing are legitimate, that I'm not being influenced by anyone. I've lost jobs over this. Now, there is a lot of money, as I'm sure you know, probably not the majority coming from Russia, probably more from China, other countries, going into politics, going into media, going into influencing what people think. The way I protect myself from that, because it is a completely messed up and influenced media organization system going on right now, ecosystem, is I only sign contracts with people who give me full creative control, because right now in this environment, that is the only way to protect yourself. If you are ever working for an organization that has creative control over you, you're going to find yourself in hot water. And quite frankly, that is the majority of media outlets within this country too.
Okay. So right now, you're telling us right now that you're not going to take any different steps to ensure that the people that are paying you are legitimate and don't have ulterior motives?
The steps I'm taking is I'm not going to work in media again, because I am tired of this subterranean Fed level nonsense going on. And I would like to just go on with my normal life as a Canadian, not being harassed by CSIS or the government or you people.
She's not going to work in media again. Is she retiring?
Thank you, Mr. Johns. Mr. Motz for 5 minutes.
I get that. I get that.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you, Ms. Southern, for being here. My questions aren't intended to harass, but rather find out some information. Now, you're described as a social media influencer, someone who is a political activist and a commentator. But
he's a conservative. Okay.
What are your objectives when you what do you aim to achieve when you connect with an audience?
My aim has always been to speak for people that don't feel they have had a voice in the mainstream media or regular media, and to convey facts. You know, I'm a human being. Everyone that does media is a human being. I don't want people to follow me like I'm some sort of god and take everything I say as, you know, their opinion, 100% influence. I want to provide as much factual information as I can, data from my own research or from on the ground, and let people take that information and look at a variety of different sources and come to their own conclusions. That is my hope for the work that I have done.
So you said this briefly in your opening, I believe, and in an answer to some of my colleagues' questions, but what motivated you or prompted you to start collaborating with Tenet Media? Was it the friendship only, or was it something else?
It was that it's usually very good to be working with a media company when you are in the, you know, social media content creation environment. I had been independent for so long, and it's very hard to do. It's very hard to fundraise for a studio, for equipment, to do films, and I wanted to expand the type of films I was doing. And although, once again, it was underfunded, it was a larger budget for me to be able to do more interesting and higher quality work than I was doing before.
Fair enough. Now, you had indicated that that you always put significant efforts into making original and thoughtful videos, and that your contract gave you full editorial control. You've made that very clear today. Now, have you ever been compensated to endorse a specific idea?
No.
On anything?
No.
From anywhere? No. Have you ever received information or from another organization, an individual, or a government for you to share that on your social media platforms?
No, other than like not paid for. I've certainly had lots of people send me, hey, share this tweet. I just did an interview, share this. Like, that's a very normal thing to happen in media.
I don't know how much time I have left, but two thoughts from your answers to other questions. You indicate that when you were in Russia, you had concerns about some other interviews you had done, and you chose not to broadcast or release those interviews. And you didn't explain why.
There was an individual that had told me they could set up interviews in Russia for me. And initially I was excited about this because they were able to get access to quite prominent figures. But as things went on, they were pushing me to do content and work, which once again, I don't, if anyone I feel is pushing me to share ideas, I push back, including, quite frankly, they were trying to get me to go and do a film on the Donbass region before in 2018. I found this strange. Obviously, I didn't know there was going to be an invasion that would happen at any point, but being offered all access to that area, military access, seemed suspicious to me, and I rejected doing the film, and I deleted all the other interviews that I conducted, or refused to publish them, rather. That was in connection with this individual.
Thank you for that clarity. In my final moments, you made a very direct and scathing comment about the current your opinion of the current media landscape in this country. Can you expand on that a little bit? Obviously, there's, and other people have concerns as well. So can you expand on what you're referring to in your description?
I have been doing YouTube for 10 years. When I started doing YouTube, it was individuals that were interested in sharing their opinions and beliefs without compensation, that genuinely cared about issues. Over the past 10 years,
What I'm referring to is you talked to Mr. John's question, you talked about receiving compensation, and you made reference to the media outlets that exist today.
Yes.
The national media outlets receiving compensation from potentially places in this globe that are hostile to our democracy in Canada.
Yes, what I was getting to is I believe there is I would have to give a written response later with the details, but based on
Could
my
you
time,
please?
sorry?
Could you?
Yes, I can. Based on the time I've spent in media, over those 10 years, I believe that a large majority of content is being influenced both from corporations, domestic government, foreign government, being paid for. I would say that even half the contributions, likes, and views on content are now all botted, not legitimate, genuine views. They're being astroturfed. And this is part of the reason that I am personally stepping away from my partaking in social media myself, because I don't believe that a lot of the internet we are engaging with today are real people. It is very different. You can feel it if you spent time on the internet 10 years ago.
Very true.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Motz. Ms. Zahid for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair.
Remember, guys, social media is not real
Ms.
life.
Southern, have you been contacted by Canadian or American law enforcement about your role in the Russian-run Tenet media op, given the U.S. indictment?
Yes, as I mentioned, CSIS came to my house while I was making dinner for my child and tried to speak with me, but did so in a way that I was not comfortable with. And I have also, quite frankly, experienced quite a bit of harassment and stalking from them. When I told them I did not want to speak, they called me dozens and dozens of times. They found my gym. They told me that if I
They went to her gym?
essentially become an informant for them, that I love being a mother, I love my child, and I would love to see him grow up and be there to provide for him, and it would be a shame if something happened to me. So I'm not too impressed with the state of law enforcement in this country right now, to be honest.
Are you aware that the content you created for Tenet Media, Russian disinformation campaign, is still available on Tenet's Rumble page?
I have no control over that, but sure.
Have you spoken to Lauren Chan or Liam Donovan since the U.S. indictment?
I have not.
You have no relationship with them?
I have not spoken to them since the indictment, no.
Will you use this opportunity today to call on Tenet to remove any and all content created by you from their Rumble and X accounts?
No, all the content I made was of my own volition based on my own opinions and free speech. So I'm happy for that content to still be out there. Quite frankly, I spent a lot of money making some beautiful documentaries in which hardworking Canadians are featured who put themselves out there and are now being slandered as Russian disinformation. And I think that's a real shame.
That's a great answer.
TikTok, Meta, and YouTube have all removed Tenet Media from their platforms using the U.S. indictment. X, formerly known as Twitter, has not. So why do you think that is the case?
I have no idea. I don't work for these social media companies.
Knowing what you do now about the Tenet Media and where their money was coming from, would you do anything differently?
Yeah, I wouldn't have worked for them if I knew where the money was coming from.
I'll pass my time to Ms. O'Connell.
Thank you. Chair, I move to resume debate on the amendment to the motion proposed by Mr. Morantz.
Motion to resume debate on the floor. I'm looking around the room. Do we have UC? No,
Fuck you, Canada!
Shaking of heads. Do you want to record the vote? Okay, have a recorded vote.
Ms. O'Connell.
Yes.
Ms. Damoff.
Yes.
Ms. Zaid.
Yes.
Mr. McDonald.
Yes.
Mr. Van Bynen.
Yes.
Mr. Morantz.
They're back to debating a motion that has nothing to do with Lauren Southern for the third
Lloyd.
goddamn time.
Nay.
Mr. Mutz?
No.
Mr. Shipley?
No.
Madame Michaud?
En faveur.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Yeas, oui, 7, nays, contre, 4.
So the motion has passed, and we will resume debate on the amendment.
Oh my
Before that, I'm wondering if we
God.
can relieve Ms. Southern from committee.
Is that
Yep.
it?
Okay, Ms. Southern, you're free to go.
Is that it?
Thank you.
They're done? Yo! Okay, that's at least good for us. Okay, we can start the other stream. That's it? That's it. That's crazy. They just like finish with Lauren Southern like that. She's just like getting up and leaving. Lauren Southern's like, I'm out of here. Okay, so here are my general thoughts on this, and then guys, we're gonna go right into our
Other
next
speakers?
stream.
Okay, I'm seeing Mr.
hang
Lloyd.
on. Okay, hang on. I'm just gonna mute this. Oh, Lauren Southern's gone. Okay. Lauren Southern's gone. Okay, so here are my final thoughts on what we just watched. So first of all, like, this is obviously a witch hunt. Everyone understands this, right? Like what the Canadian Parliament is doing. We saw this with Lauren Chen's testimony. Even though Lauren Chen took the fifth with everything, it was the Canadian version of the fifth. This was something where it was like obvious that the Liberal members of Canada's Parliament are just grilling them, trying to make it appear like they're Russian disinformation, trying to make something nefarious when it's not. They did exactly the same thing to Lauren Southern, except I have to give Lauren Southern a lot of props. I think Lauren Southern performed impeccably. I mean, maybe she had a couple moments where she could have done it a little bit better. Maybe she had a couple moments where she got a little too hot-headed. But, like, overall, I have to give Lauren Southern a big round of applause. If you agree with me, like, give some a round of applause, or, like, 07s in the chat for Lauren Southern, because, like, that was a beautiful performance. From the opening statement to the righteous indignation to the laughing at that anti-Semitic obsessed woman when she was like, you just interviewed Alexander Dugin to stir up anti-Semitism, and Lauren Southern literally laughed in her face. Like, I mean, she just did a great job. And I don't know anyone probably who could have done it better. And I thought that was awesome. And that's probably why, honestly, because the woman that made the motion at the end, she is crazy woke. If she wasn't going head to head with Lauren Southern over this, there is a reason for that. So Lauren Southern told them to all go screw. And I thought she did a great job. And I'm really glad we watched the hearing. I am not glad that the Canadian Parliament decided to start an hour late and then be dilatory talking about anti-Semitism in Minecraft. But I thought that was a great performance by Lauren Southern. And that is going to conclude this stream. And guys, we're going to go right into our next stream, which will be starting in a couple minutes. If you want to stick around on the channel, we are going to be watching this video from this person who I've never seen before, called the Forward Observer, because someone in my audience asked me, does this guy actually know anything about the left? Because he's charging $200 for some Antifa like documentation. And I'm like, I have no idea who this guy is. So let's find out. So we're going to wrap up this stream. I'm going to take a little bit of a break. We'll get started probably around 5:30 or so. I've got it at 6 o'clock on the studio, just because I didn't know when this hearing was going to end. But we will be getting started probably at about 5:30 Eastern time. And yeah, so it's not going to be on this particular stream. I'm going to end this stream, and you can find the other stream on my channel on YouTube or on Rumble, and not on Twitter for today because I'm still locked out of my Twitter account for a couple more hours, but we'll watch it here. Anyway, guys, thank you for hanging out with me. Thanks to everyone who sent in a super chat. I really do appreciate it. I will see you on the other stream momentarily. Bye, guys. Have a good one. We'll see you soon.
How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you?
That's difficult to answer.
is it that playing the piano for people has eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital?
That's difficult to answer.